Hello, I'm Micker 410. Welcome to my channel where I focus on 3-inch revolvers and 410 shot shells. Let's check out today's video. Hello, and welcome to our revolver introduction and overview video. So at the beginning of each of my videos, you're going to see an introduction that says that I like 3-inch revolvers and I like 410 bore shot shells, and that I'm going to collect a lot of data consistently on those two platforms. Well, in that little intro, you see about 4 revolvers. And maybe that doesn't really give a full concept of how in-depth I'm going to go with looking at 3-inch revolvers. I tend to really like them. I think that they are poorly represented in data. I believe most data pertaining to revolvers is at the 2-inch snubby level or the 4-inch duty carry or all-purpose or field or whatever you want to call it level. Matter of fact, I tend to think of 3-inch revolvers as like the middle kid of revolvers. Thus the name Micker 410. Middle kid revolvers, 410 shot shells. Now you guys know. Glad to get that out of the way. So in this video here, we're going to do a quick overview of all the revolvers that we're going to collect data on over this entire journey. All right. And I'm just going to talk a little bit about each one. They're all 3-inch. They're all double action. Most of them are modern. Most of them are readily available. Yeah, so we're going to go from my left to my right in ascending caliber with 2 special guests that are kind of here in the back. And we're going to go over each one. So, all right. Starting on the left, we have the Diamondback Sidekick with the Birdshead grip. Now, I really like this revolver because it is a 9-shooter or a 9-shot, and it can shoot 22 short, 22 long, 22 long rifle, and with a cylinder change, 22 WMR or 22 Magnum. Initially for me personally, I was thinking of 22s as a possible, or 22 WMR as a possible everyday carry conceal cartridge for me. I ultimately decided not to go that route once I discovered 32s. But that doesn't mean that 32s are perfect for everybody. And so the fact that Diamondback is making a very attractive, in my opinion, compact, easily concealed, or at least as easily concealed as any 3-inch revolver, 9-shot double action with a decent amount of heft is pretty great. Now, not everybody wants heft in their revolvers. Most of these revolvers are between 20 and 30 ounces, not all, but most. And each revolver will get its own specialized video later where we cover the dimensions of the revolver, the weight of the revolver, the trigger pull of the revolver, how the trigger feels, how easily is it stacked, how crisp is the single action pull, how much do I like the sights, what kind of sights there are. Those kinds of details will all be covered separately. I have made one small change to this revolver. I have some premium gun grips on here. They have a rosewood with faux ivory that I really like. You'll see that popping up on multiple revolvers of mine. If there's an opportunity for me to use this grip, I use it. And that's just aesthetics. I just like that. So yeah, I really like this guy. I was very excited when they announced him. Oh, and this revolver is Zamek, I believe, which a lot of people have issue with. I don't believe that's going to be an issue for 22s, but I understand why people could have an issue with that alloy. From what I understand, the Saturday Night Special world of cheap alloy revolvers and semi-autos in the 1960s and 50s really, through a combination of poor machining and quality control and design, really did a humdinger on that alloy's reputation. So anyway, this is the Diamondback Sidekick, Birdshead grip, 9-shot, 22 caliber, all the 22 calibers. All right, next in our overview is our Iver Johnson Model 3 break action 5-shot 38 Smith & Wesson with a 3 1/4 inch barrel. Now, I couldn't be that picky with this revolver barrel length. With all these other calibers, I was able to be picky. I was able to find 3-inch barrel versions to compare. But when you're talking about a cartridge as old and in low production as 38 Smith & Wesson, there was really no other choices. I could have, I wanted to make it comparable to all the other revolvers that we see here. I wanted us to be able to take a look at what a 3-inch revolver that was considered sufficient for everyday protection 120 years ago looked like, 105 years ago. I think this particular one was from right around 1917. I don't really know. I haven't fully looked it up. I'm not taking these grips off. They're in great condition. I don't want to damage them. And I believe that a lot of the information might be under there. Again, I don't know. If you guys know, put it in the comments. That's fine. I have fired this revolver. It does work. It is safe to operate. Again, it's a 5-shot. I'm not a big fan of that personally. I do really personally prefer revolvers with more than 6. If I'm going to take the time to figure out how to carry a revolver with a slightly longer barrel, with that 3-inch barrel versus the 2, then I'm also okay with it being slightly wider and that cylinder being a little bit bigger and getting me those couple of extra shots. 6 shots versus 5, 7 versus 6, and 9 versus 7 or 8. So, yeah, so I think this will be a very interesting one to compare to all the other calibers because we will eventually be shooting these. And we're going to chronograph everything that we shoot out of these revolvers. And we are going to shoot the revolvers at some plasticine, some artistic clay. And then we're going to get an idea of how much deformation these revolvers do to that plasticine and how much volume is displaced. And that is chosen very specifically versus ballistics gel. I'm just very curious how the energy dissipates, how the energy from the bullet interacts. It's difficult. How the energy, how far it reaches is what I'm trying to say. How far into a target does the energy from the bullet reach? We kind of see that in ballistics gel when ballistics gelatin swells out and then comes back in, and then we've got our trail in the ballistics gelatin. I kind of want to try to pause it at the maximum range of that displacement. And the plasticine, the artistic clay, will do that. And so that's what we're going to do. And we're not going to shoot a small amount of it. We're not going to shoot just like a 5-pound brick. We'll shoot like 30 pounds or 40 pounds of it in a big line. Like guys used to do with water jugs or pine boards, that kind of a thing. So we will do our best to see what the maximum extent of that energy reaches out to, because when a target is shot, the trail does go through it, the cavity does go through it, but if the target can feel, I want to know how far out it might feel. I want to know other things than just the trail. So we'll get chronograph data, we'll get foot-pounds, we'll get felt recoil, because we'll measure the weight on all of these guys. We're going to get a whole array of very interesting data off of all of these revolvers in the 3-inch barrels. Now, let's move on to the next one. This one is kind of hilarious in a lot of ways. I know a lot of people don't particularly like this company. This is a Charter Arms in 380 ACP. It is a 6-shot. And it is mild. It is very mild. Again, I've changed the grips to my premium gun grips with the rosewood and the faux ivory. I really like it. This revolver is interesting for a lot of reasons. One is 380 ACP. Two, you can't really see it. We'll cover it in more depth later. But it has a very interesting system for retaining the rimless 380s. So you don't use a moon clip with these. There's a spring retention system in each chamber in the cylinder. You slide your 380s in, they click into place. It's a little slow. I wouldn't want to do a reload with it, but at the range for just target shooting, it is an absolute blast. 380 ACP out of this guy is very mild. It's cheap to buy. It's a fun one. It's a very fun one. I've had no issues with it. I've had no issues with any Charter Arms of mine. And even if I did have an issue with a Charter Arms, they have a lifetime warranty, which is pretty great. Just make sure you register your Charter Arms with them as soon as you get it, just in case. Because even though I haven't had any issues, doesn't mean we won't have any issues over the course of this series of videos. And it doesn't mean that other people don't have issues. And with a warranty like that being offered, it's a good idea to take advantage of it. So, I'm really looking forward to seeing how the 380 ACP performs out of this guy. Like, how much are we going to lose out of the cylinder gap? You know? What kind of stuff's going to go on with the fact that this cylinder itself is longer than a 380 ACP cartridge? And so it's got a little bit of a bullet jump. I don't know. We're going to find out. It's going to be fun. Okay. So now we come to the next revolver, or I should say next caliber. So this caliber is really where my journey with 3-inch revolvers got started. I had decided that I wanted to, if I was going to carry, it was going to be a revolver. I'm just a regular Joe. I'm not a ninja. I'm not a commando. I'm not a former police officer. I didn't get into firearms as a hobby or for protection or for around the property until I was much older. You know, I don't have a 20-year-long history with these. And so I had to do a lot of research on my own to figure out kind of what I wanted. And what I came across, what sounded best on paper to me, was this guy. This is the Charter Arms Professional in 32 H&R Magnum. It's a 7-shot revolver. Has a little fiber optic sight up there, which is pretty and easy to pick up. Again, I've changed the grips, premium gun grips, rosewood, faux ivory. But when you do this style of boot grip, or classic detective grip, or whatever it's called, I really do recommend you get a Tyler T grip, or a BK grip adapter. It fills in this gap between the trigger guard and the handle, and it turns an okay grip into a phenomenal grip. So I really, really like this revolver. 32 H&R on paper is fantastic to shoot, and so far it has proven to be my favorite. Not my favorite. It's the most comfortable for me to shoot and still get good performance with my moderate level of skill and experience. I know it's an expensive cartridge. I know it's a hard cartridge to find, but the fact is that it produces results right around 38 special. So it's providing more oomph than 380 ACP, less than 9mm, which I think is the sweet spot personally. Because it's chambered in 32 H&R Magnum, it will also shoot 32 Smith & Wesson longs, which have about the energy of a 22 Magnum, and 32 Smith & Wesson shorts, which has about the energy of a 22 long rifle. And for fun, if you want, you can shoot 32 ACP out of this. I don't recommend it in a stressful situation because the rim thickness isn't identical between that one, the 32 ACP, and the whole other batch of 32s that I've listed. They can shift around in the cylinder and cause issues. I've never had a failure to fire with them out of this firearm or any other 32 revolver that I've shot. I've got a GP100 in 327. I've got Ruger SP101 in 327, and I've got a Taurus 327 snubby. I really like the caliber. I really like 32 H&R. And this series is because I really want to see if the 32 H&R Magnum is providing on paper the sweet spot that I think it's providing in comparison to all the other calibers. And I want to see if I really do find it to be the best to handle. And I like this one so much that I did pick up a second. And this is the only other one that you'll see revolver-wise where I've got two of them. I kind of believe in two is one is none kind of a situation. And with Charter Arms reputation, I was a little bit more cautious about that. So the stainless steel guy is my target one, my practice one. The black nitride one, this is my EDC. This is my everyday carry. You know, I stumbled upon all of this thanks to Lucky Gunner. His Smith & Wesson in 32 H&R that he was carrying, that he talks about, was practically unobtainium by the time I went to get one. And I have found this to be an excellent alternative so far. Not that I've been in any gunfights or anything. I'm just a regular guy, like I said. But I have found it to be easy to practice with. I found it to work nicely with holsters. I found it to fit comfortably in my pocket. Matter of fact, I found all of these, depending upon my pair of pants, to fit comfortably in my pocket, which is kind of funny considering the last two. We have different grips on here. These are small rubber grips that you can get off of Charter Arms website, so that's a bit different. This little indent right here is fantastic. Your pinky fits in that, and it is just great. Very comfortable. I was very surprised. And then I swapped out the hammer, the double action hammer, for a bobbed hammer that you can just buy off of Charter Arms website as well. They sell them, as far as I know, for all of their revolvers. And yeah, this is a fantastic everyday carry. Now, these guys will be shot with the rest, but I am going to kind of limit their shooting, and the majority of 32 H&R, 32 Smith & Wesson long, 32 short, and 32 ACP that we're going to shoot is going to be out of this guy. This is our Ruger SP101, chambered in 327 with a 3-inch barrel. And once again, this is why this blows my mind, you know, how similar they are in dimensions across manufacturers. So this guy feels a little bit heavier. And again, we'll get all of the data on this, the exact accurate weights across all of these later. This guy is a 6-shot, which is a little bit disappointing for me. I would have loved for it to have been a 7-shot, like Ruger's single 7 in 327. But so far it's been quite nice, and this is the revolver that the missus likes the most. She enjoys shooting 32 long out of it. Right here, we've got a little bit of a clearance that allows for speed loaders to work nicely. These are stock grips. I've made no changes to this, although I am planning on switching this front sight out for a tritium night sight eventually. I haven't done that yet, but that's a plan. So you may see this sight change over the course of these videos. Yeah, so this is a very nice revolver. I really like it. Ruger is pretty much world famous for being like one of the big quality revolver companies, and has been around for a very long time. And I don't think that anybody would be disappointed with this revolver, at least out of the performance I've had with it so far. But I'm able to say that with all of these. I know we're about halfway through on them, but I haven't had an issue with a single company yet. I haven't had a Diamondback issue. I haven't had a Taurus issue, which is next. I haven't had a Charter Arms issue. I haven't had an Iver Johnson issue. I haven't had a Smith & Wesson issue. I haven't had a Ruger issue. I don't know if I've just been lucky. I don't know if the internet likes to just find all the extreme situations. You know, I'm sure that if we're going to have any issues, they'll come up over the course of testing all of these firearms across all these calibers going forward. So our next revolver is the Taurus 905. Now the Taurus 905 is a pretty cool revolver in my opinion. This is the Lipsy variant, which is how it came with the 3-inch barrel. Most other revolvers or Taurus 905s are snubbies. They're 2 inches. This guy came with the tritium front sight, and it is a 5-shot. The cylinder's empty, so you know. Bobbed hammer came that way. I might actually try to change that. I kind of want to be able to test single action across all of these. So by the time we get to the 9mm caliber, which is what this guy's chambered in, I may have swapped that out. I may have figured out how to do that. But I'm not going to do it if I think I'm going to wreck the gun, because it is nice. I've only shot it a little bit, and I got to admit, I am liking shooting 9mm out of a revolver more than a semi-auto. Semi-autos, especially the more cheap ones, are a little wiggly on top where it slides around, and that just kind of drives me a little bonkers. That's just a me thing. Sort of reminds me of having a loose head on my hammer or axe, you know, and I don't like that. I don't like having loose tools. So I changed the grips again. Now this comes with some nice boot grips, but once again, I love these premium gun grips. I love this rosewood. I love this faux ivory, and I could not resist. And once again, we have a BK grip adapter. Now, this is a J-frame grip adapter. The other BK grip adapter on the Charter Arms is also a J-frame, but I had to do a little bit of removal of material inside of it to get it to fit. This one fit just fine right out of the box. So, the only issue that I have with this revolver at this point, and that may change based upon the data we see when we start shooting that clay and we start chronographing stuff, is that it is just a 5-shot revolver. If this was 6 or 7, and I know 7 would be very hard to do with 9mm, it's a fat little cartridge. But if this was 6, that would be fantastic. It uses moon clips to load, unlike the 380 ACP, which is our other rimless revolver in this lineup. I love moon clips. They reload super fast. They're easy to toss into a pocket, in my opinion, if you use the right kinds of pockets. And it's just a fantastic shooter. Very comfortable. I was very surprised. I haven't shot anything hot out of it. No plus Ps or plus P pluses yet or anything like that. But I did not enjoy shooting 9mm so much that when I got this one and shot it, I was just stunned. So I'm hoping that that continues all the way through on this journey, and that this guy really is, out of all of this, I'm hoping that the 9mm is the real surprise. And I know that that is like heresy to a bunch of revolver guys. But I like real cheap bullets, and I'm not super big into reloading. So, you know, 9mm, that's a great one to take to the range. All right, so next. This one is our 357 Magnum. And like a lot of other cartridges that you find revolvers in, 357 Magnum will shoot other cartridges. It'll shoot 38 Special and 38 Colt, which I've never seen, but I've seen other guys shoot it. So if we ever find some 38 Colt, we'll stick it in here. And technically, I guess, the way that 38 Smith & Wesson is made nowadays, you can shoot it out of here. But that's a whole lot of stuff. My understanding is that the modern Remington loading of 38 Smith & Wesson isn't done with the true 38 Smith & Wesson bullet. It's done with the 38 Special 357 bullet. And so those diameters are a little bit different. And by loading it up with that, by loading up the 38 Smith & Wesson with the bullet from the 38 Special, which just has a very slight difference. I think it's 0.361 versus 0.357, something like that. I'm not 100% accurate. I didn't bother to do a whole ton of specifics research for this quick overview video. Anyway, this is a Kimber. It's got beautiful sights. It's a 6-shooter, like the others. The cylinder has some beautifully recessed chambers in there. It is also an absolute delight to shoot. And it has some fantastic sights built in. So I'm looking forward to shooting this one much. I haven't shot it much at all. To be honest, the very first time I took it out to shoot, I used some ink ammo, and I got my very first squib. And that was kind of scary. And if I hadn't seen a nice video on 32 H&R Magnum by Ammo Market, I believe, something like that. If I hadn't seen a video from another gun tuber that actually caught a squib, I wouldn't have known what a squib was, and I wouldn't have known how to catch it. And the first time shooting this guy may have been the last. So that is another reason why I decided to do these kinds of videos. You know, not everybody can get out to the range all the time. Not everybody's got a whole ton of military training or law enforcement training. And these videos can provide a lot of information that's helpful for people. So, yeah, that's kind of part of why I'm going to do this. We're going to get some real uniform data across calibers for 3-inch barrels. And we're going to get some real uniform felt recoil data, because that's kind of hard to find. And we're going to see, you know, some stuff about the actual ammunition itself. So, yeah, 357 38 Special is considered the absolute standard for revolvers. I personally think that's a little off. I think it should be the 32 caliber, or at least in daily carry revolvers. You know, once you're getting out into the woods and everything, that's a little bit different. Or at least I think it should be a little bit different. I don't know. We'll kind of find out as we shoot more things. And people have said stuff about Kimber not being the best. I don't know if that applies to just their 1911s or if it applies to their whole line. I haven't had any issues with this yet, but I certainly haven't put 1,000 rounds through it. I don't even think I've put 100. So that's what's going to happen with all these. We're kind of going to put a lot more round count through them than I've ever done before. And that'll be interesting too. All right, so next. This is the Charter Arms Bulldog Classic. It's the only blued revolver I have out here. It's gorgeous. It is chambered in 44 special only. Well, I mean, not only. I guess technically 44 special can also shoot 44 show field and 44 Russian, I think. Double check it. Don't go shooting it just off of my word. And I have no idea where you would find that. So if you have some lying around and you're going to go shoot it out of a 44 special, I feel like you're probably the guy that knows. You're probably already hand loading it and have looked it all up and all that kind of jazz. But anyway, this is a beautiful revolver. And it's light. And I've shot a little bit of 44 special out of it, and I was really surprised. I thought it was going to be way more uncomfortable than it was. Now, I've only shot light 44 special. I haven't shot anything crazy out of it yet. You know, I hear there are some real nice self-defense rounds from Hornady in the 160 grain range. I've heard there's some real heavy, hefty ones. We're not going to shoot that out of here. This is a 20-ounce-ish revolver. Heavy 44 specials? No, we're not shooting that out of these. I like my wrists. They do a good job for me. They take care of me. We'll save the heavier stuff for our last revolver. All right, so our second to last revolver, our second Ruger of the day. This guy took me a little while to find it. I wasn't going to start making this series of videos until I got my hands on this one. This is a Ruger GP100 3-inch barrel in 10 millimeter. Now, it is also a 6-shooter. It is, I was wrong, I misspoke because this is a long video where I'm just kind of speaking off the top of my head. I misspoke. This is the third revolver out of all of them that is a semi-rimmed cartridge. So it also uses moon clips. Now, I haven't shot this guy at all yet. I'm very much looking forward to it. And one of the really fun things about it is that it can shoot 40 Smith & Wesson out of it, no problem, thanks to the moon clips. So I think we're going to have a good time with this one. It's got a nice fiber optic sight up front, nice sights in the back, stock grips. I really like this kind of grip. I'm a big sucker for wood on my grips, but I'm willing to recognize that in some more potent calibers, I would kind of appreciate some rubber there too. So this combination of wood aesthetic inlaid into the rubber, I really kind of like it. So this one's going to be a lot of fun. I'm very glad I was able to find it. It is used. You know, like I said, it took a while, and I just kind of got the one I could. It seems to be in fantastic shape, and I think it's going to be a lot of fun to figure out what 10 millimeter and 40 Smith & Wesson do out of a revolver, because there's a whole lot of talk about how 10 millimeter compares to 357, how 40 Smith & Wesson is weak and ineffective, and how bullet technology has advanced so much that 9 millimeter is not has made 10 millimeter and 40 Smith & Wesson irrelevant. I don't participate in any of that. None of that really matters to me. But what does matter to me is understanding what kind of performance I'm going to get out of, and what kind of performance I'm going to get out of a caliber, and an honest comparison across mediums, across barrel lengths, as much as possible. And that's, I mean, I really like 3-inch revolvers. They are my absolute favorite firearm platform. But being able to provide such consistent data is really why I want to do this. So yeah, it's going to be really neat to shoot 10 millimeter out of this. I'm a little disappointed. I thought this was going to be my opportunity to get a Rhino in the lineup from Chiappa. But Chiappa their Rhino only comes in 40 Smith & Wesson. It doesn't come in the 10 millimeter. And the 10 millimeter is so popular right now that I really had to give it a go. I couldn't just leave it at 40 Smith & Wesson. So And it is also the first revolver in this lineup that does not weigh between 20 and 30 ounces. This guy's probably going to be around 36 or something like that. Again, we'll get exact weights later on the videos specific to each individual revolver. And our last revolver in the list, this is my Smith & Wesson 44 Magnum. Oh my God, I'm gonna mess it up. I think it's a 629 Deluxe. I know it's the Deluxe. I can't remember the model number. That's something that drives me crazy about Smith & Wesson, their model numbers. I'm not a Smith & Wesson guy. I only have two of them. I've got this one, and surprise, surprise, I've got the Governor. And that one we will cover in the other overview video that I do where I cover 410 shot shell platforms. So, stock grips, no changes here. All heavy 44 special will be shot out of this guy. 44 mag is going to be shot out of this guy. This is the closest thing that I have to a hand cannon. I'm not a 454 Sewell man. I'm not a 460 or a 500 guy. I'm not looking to hunt elk with a handgun. But no shame on that, or no shade. No shade on any of that. This really is just sort of my exploration, you know, of how a 3-inch revolver platform handles everything. Because there's very little data that I could find for that barrel length. And, you know, again, I am just fascinated with how similar these dimensions actually are. You know, this revolver is going to be heavy. It's not going to be light. Again, it's somewhere, I think, between 30 and 45 ounces. I don't know off the top of my head. And I'm sure I will appreciate every one of those ounces when I shoot 44 Magnum out of it. So far, I've only shot 44 Special out of it, and it's been an absolute delight. The sight's fine. This is the only one that we have with adjustable rear sights, which I find kind of interesting. I do a lot of hiking and a lot of backpacking. I don't do that in grizzly bear country, but there are things in the areas that I hike and backpack at where I do like to carry a nice hard cast bullet. Now there are companies like Buffalo Bore that make a 32 H&R hard cast, or Double Tap that make a 32 H&R hard cast, and I want to know if that's going to do the job, or do I have to carry the 44 Magnum or the 357 Magnum or the 10 mil to be able to reliably get the penetration that I'm going to want on some sort of four-legged critter, you know, or be able to shoot through to function in some light brush, you know, the kind of brush you might encounter at self-defense distances out in the woods. Anyway, in my opinion, there's a whole ton of questions to ask, a whole array of possibilities that we can see. Lots of surprises, I think, await us in this journey. And I'm really looking forward to making all these videos for you guys and having you come along. Any questions you have, feel free to ask. I don't care how inane it is or whatever. Any extra information you have, feel free to share it. Anytime I make an error, I'm human, I will make errors. Please feel free to provide corrections in the comments. I hope you guys have enjoyed this overview, and I'm looking forward to doing the next batch of videos for you. Have a good night.